I'm Paul Crocker, and you can read all these bullets here. I just want to let you know that I'm very passionate about water and utilities. I spent about 30 years in utilities between a couple of utilities, and I really love asset management and what it brings to the table. So I encourage you to stay tuned for this whole presentation. Even if you're not in the water treatment industry, there's a lot of stuff in here that's applicable to every industry, be it making tools or making food products or pharmaceuticals. All the principles and practices in this are applicable to everything. Even though I'm addressing utilities here, you can just substitute utilities for whatever business it is that you do. And I'm thankful for you to tune in today and see this presentation. Now for the presentation, what is the current state of your assets? What is an asset? Well, by ISO 55,000, an asset's an item, thing, or entity that has potential or actual value to an organization. So we're going to talk in this presentation about assets and why you should know what you have, where it is, and the state that each of those assets is in. So on the format for these slides, I'll have a slide title, I'll have some just information, and then some bullets below. One is a con or a reason that you shouldn't do it, and then some 3 bullets below that with reasons that you should consider what I'm presenting. So it's a little bit of a different format, but I wanted to kind of tell you what it was before I get to the next slide. The first question is, what assets do you have? You may say, well, we have a bunch of assets, and how do we track them all? And should we classify them? And the answer to those questions is yes. You might say, well, we don't want to do the classification because we don't have the people. Well, that's not really a good reason not to classify your assets. Some good reasons is clearly classifying and defining assets allows for improved maintenance strategy and capital investment. It allows for understanding asset functions and grouping assets together, which leads to improved performance. And asset identification is the first step in risk management. The next question is, what type of assets do you have? We're not talking facilities here, we're talking about plant assets. So AC motors, DC drives, AC drives, VFD drives, frequency drives as they might be called, gate valves, butterfly valves, ball valves, diaphragm pumps, peristaltic pumps, progressive cavity pumps, metering pumps, horizontal pumps, vertical pumps, clarifier drives, buried ductile iron pipe, buried cast iron pipe, PVC pipe, etc. Those are categorizations, and they're broad, but they're not too broad. Broad categorizations can obscure specific maintenance needs. So like, you don't want to just say, well, we have motors. We don't want to just say we have drives. You want to differentiate between the types of drives. You don't want to just say you have valves. You want to differentiate between the types of the valves and so on. Differentiating assets helps tailor specific operational strategies. Categorization by type aids in regulatory compliance, and recognizing asset types assists in training relevant personnel. Another question would be, do you have an asset hierarchy? So we just in this little example, I just build as say you have a room with metering pumps, and you have metering pump A, B, and C, and then you have the control panel and the motor. Well, this is clearly a hierarchy where you can look up those assets, and then there's spare parts. So metering pump A would have a motor, and because the motor is under certain criteria, it's a spare part, which I colored in green here. And you might say, well, developing a hierarchy can be time consuming. Well, yes, but it's also time saving, because once it's built, it doesn't have to be built again, and then it really helps simplify and locate assets in EAM and CMMS systems. So hierarchy simplifies decision making for asset maintenance and replacement. It streamlines communication within the organization. And asset hierarchy helps in efficient resource allocation. So if you can find what it is in a hierarchy, usually by a location, then an asset and spare part and so on, it makes it much easier to know what you have. Next question after an asset is, do you have a location hierarchy? So locations are like your plant, and you might have a treatment train A and a treatment train B, and you might have a chemical feed metering pumps. And like I said, this might be a little redundant if assets are already well documented. If they're not, some reasons to do is it's critical for quick response and emergency. Location hierarchy supports efficient asset tracking and deployment, not only work order tracking and CMMS and EAM systems. It's a necessity for those systems, and it aids in optimization of logistics and resource distribution. Now, if you put those two together, then you have an asset location hierarchy. So here we have in black a plant, and then we have some locations, a treatment train A, a treatment train B, and a chemical feed metering pump area. And with that metering pump area, then we have the assets, metering pump A, control panel, and metering pump A, and then the metering pump A motor, and so on. You have metering pump B and C. You might say, well, tagging technologies can be an initial overhead cost. Well, they can, but it's good to have your assets tagged and identified in the field, and that identification should match your EAM and CMMS asset location hierarchy. And ideally, it should also match your P&ID drawings and manuals. Some compelling reasons: asset location knowledge helps reduce downtime during breakdowns, helps speed reporting and problem identification, and is essential for strategic planning and failure response. Next question is, do you know what maintenance strategies exist for each asset? Is it run to failure? Is it preventive maintenance? Is it scheduled renewal, scheduled discard? Is it condition monitoring, or is it corrective maintenance? You might even say, well, we don't know. Well, when things fail, we just fix them or repair them or we throw them out. But you don't have a defined strategy if you're doing that. What I'm talking about is a defined strategy. A con might be researching and developing strategies requires an investment in time and resources. Well, that's true. But it also, once done, doesn't have to be done again. And often, once done, one study or RCM study or failure modes effects analysis can be applied to a lot of similar assets. So you have reliability center maintenance, failure modes effects analysis, failure modes effects and criticality analysis, and PM optimization. So those are good things to do. Some compelling reasons is appropriate strategies prevent under or over maintaining. Over maintaining is always bad, and so is under maintaining. They ensure cost effectiveness and long-term asset health, and they adapt to technological advancements in industry best practices. If you've done an FMEA, you probably know your maintenance costs, but if not, do you know your maintenance cost strategy? So if it's like motors, if they're under 25 horsepower or under $2,500, we've got a strategy that says when those fail, we'll just run those to failure. If they're critical, we'll have one in the storeroom, so it won't be a big deal. If we have motors that are greater than 25 horsepower or greater than $5,000, we're going to do condition monitoring and preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance. We'll have job plans for corrective maintenance when things go wrong with them, like we can replace the bearings or something of that nature. You may have some for pumps less than 650 gallons a minute or less than $5,000. You could say, hey, on those, they're not worth our time, we're going to run those to failure. That's not just a haphazard, that's a planned run to failure. Large pumps greater than 650 gallons per minute or greater than $5,000. We'll do condition monitoring, we'll do corrective maintenance, we'll do preventive maintenance, and so on. So you might say, again, custom strategies for each asset can seem overwhelming. Well, maybe so, but you've got a lot of assets in your plant that are duplicate. So you build a strategy for one, you can apply it to all those other assets that are identical. And some tailored reasons or some compelling reasons or tailored strategies increase the lifespan of assets. They reduce the risk of unexpected failures, and custom strategies contribute to the overall reliability of operations. Now the question, do you know the current condition of those assets? Do you have a motor with a stage 1 bearing fault? Do you have a pump that operates outside of its curve? Do you know if you have wear metals in your gearbox wheel? Do you have a pump delivering less than designed output? Do you have a motor with vibration over the design parameters and for its speed and position? You might say, well, continuous monitoring, that's a lot of data. And well, it could be. You don't need to apply it to everything, but there's certainly cases where continuous monitoring is advantageous. But most of these here that I've listed aren't really continuous monitoring. You can monitor these periodically. You can do vibration analysis quarterly, and you can check pump curves, every year, and you can do wear metal analysis on lubrication samples every 3 months worth of runtime hours, and you can check a pump delivering less than optimal output by just pressure readings. So these things don't need to have really complex um, monitoring schemes applied. But, some compelling reasons to know the state of your assets is knowing the condition prevents catastrophic failures. You don't have to wait till the floor is up vibrating where the pump is to know that the pump's got something wrong with it. If you're doing oil analysis and vibration analysis, then you'll probably know many months in advance that you've got problems coming and able to make plans to renovate or repair an asset or plan for its replacement. It also facilitates proactive maintenance and reduces downtime. Some of that might be if you've got some wear metals and high particle counts in your oil, you can do some filtration, and it'll extend the life out some before you have to do that repair. And then condition monitoring is key for capital planning. If you've got an asset that's been in place for a long time, it's expensive, and now you've got some data to prove that, hey, it's time to repair this, and helps with finance folks knowing they're doing the right things with the organization's money. Along with the previous question, what condition monitoring tools do you own? Do you have a ultrasonic tool that's like structure-borne or airborne vibration? Do you have a vibration analyzer? Do you have oil sample bottles and a vampire pump and tubing to collect oil samples? Do you have a megger for electrical circuits? Do you have an infrared camera? Do you have a motion amplification camera? An often overlooked one is a cell phone camera. About everybody has one of those in their pockets these days. Um, Cons to some of this is high-end tools can be significant upfront cost. Well, it's true, but they can also be very instrumental in finding problems earlier, finding really hard to diagnose problems, which is especially the case in motion amplification. Some compelling reasons they can provide some real-time or offline or online data for informed decision making. Monitoring tools can help predict failures before they occur, and they can reduce the frequency and severity of unplanned outages because you have a problem coming ahead of time. You can sort of proactively plan to renovate or rebuild an asset or even replace it without waiting for an outage. Follow-up question to that one is, when were those tools last calibrated? Was it yearly or semi-annually or monthly, or you don't know, never? Calibration can seem as an unnecessary expense if the tools are functioning. Often under-calibrated tool is a torque wrench, and torque wrenches should be calibrated at least annually. I think get really far off, and then when you're torquing things together and you think you've got something at a certain foot-pound, it's probably way less than what you think it is. Anyway, it ensures accuracy and reliability of the monitoring data. Regular calibration keeps tools compliant with industry standards, and it prevents drifts and errors in condition assessment. How about, do you have a lubrication best practices program? Well, if you don't, that's something Reliability X can help you with. But that would be like you've had people trained in lubrication best practices. You do oil sampling, you do grease sampling, you have filter carts, you have ISO standards for particle counts, and you have solid product families of lubricants. and you store those lubricants in cool and dry places, not outside in the rain. Implementing best practices does require training, and that may halt production. Well, it's better to do a planned halt in production because of training than unplanned halt on a key holiday or other event. Planning is an investment, and it's far too much overlooked. Compelling reasons is for having lubrication best practices is it reduces the chance for mechanical failure due to improper lubrication, extends the life of moving parts and saving money in the long run, and ensures the safety of maintenance personnel. So if equipment is maintained well and clean and tight and unlubricated, you really sort of avoid a lot of unexpected failures, and it's those unexpected failures, emergency failures, where people are trying to be the hero and get the equipment back up and running where people get hurt. So a reliable plan is also a very safe plan. How about, do you know where spare parts exist for those assets? Is it in Bob's hidden storage location, or in a storeroom in a designated bin and counted, or is it stored at the vendor? The cons to that is like spare parts inventory can tie up capital and storage space. Well, yeah, and so can an hour run to the parts store to see if they have it, only to find out that they just sold their last one, and another trip to a different parts store all over town trying to find something in a hurry to get an asset back up. It's not a good strategy for keeping your plant running. Some compelling reasons to have good asset spare parts is it ensures minimal downtime during repairs. Effective inventory management can reduce carrying costs, and having critical spare parts on hand can prevent costly emergency procurement. How about, do you know where your assets were purchased from? Was it a pipe valve and fitting supply house? Was it Grainger? Was it Amazon? Was it the manufacturer's website? Was it Joe's Electric Supply? Tracking down vendor details can be cumbersome, especially for older assets where people may have retired since the last time that asset was replaced. And it could be difficult to find those. So keeping that information in your EAM and CMMS systems or even Excel, if all else fails, is a great thing to do. Also, having that information helps maintain relationships for warranty claims and service support. Vendor knowledge helps in negotiating terms for future purchases, and it's essential for tracking down specific parts or service instructions. Do you have a computerized maintenance management system or an enterprise asset management system? Some of those are like Maximo, Upkeep, Ultimo, CUPS, that's an EPA one for water utilities, CityWorks, IFS, eMate, and there's about 100 of them, other ones out there. A con to this might be implementing one of these systems represents a significant change management and capital expense, and those are true. But they also provides a centralized database for tracking asset information. They facilitate in scheduling and recording of maintenance work, and they enhance decision making through detailed asset performance analytics. If you got an EAM system or a CMMS system, and it's not functioning the way that you think it should, or it could be functioning better, or maybe you have a need to improve the data in it, but you're not sure how, well, that's a reason to give us a call. You can go to our website, reliabilityx.com, or ask at reliabilityx.com, and we can certainly help you with those issues, irrespective of what system that you have. If you have one of those systems, then do you have job plans for your assets? Those contain the what of the work, like what tasks, what materials, what parts, what tools, what steps, what are the procedures. And it can be time consuming to create detailed job plans for assets. But reasons to do it is it ensures that maintenance tasks are performed consistently and correctly. Bob is doing it the same way as Larry's doing it, who's doing it the same way as Joe's doing it. Job plans help in training new staff and serve as a knowledge repository. So when somebody retires, that knowledge is still retained in the system, and the next guy coming in will have the procedures and tasks and material and spare parts. He'll have all that knowledge in the system to be able to do his job efficiently. And they allow for more accurate estimation of time and resources. Next question, do you have PMs for your assets? So those are kind of the when of the work. That's is it monthly, weekly, every 2180 hours, etc. Or is it on just some other sort of schedule? And they usually contain the job plan or the what of the work. Kind of as like PM schedules can sometimes lead to unnecessary maintenance activities. Well, that's true if you've got PM happening that doing some work that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. Yeah, that can lead to unnecessary maintenance activities. But some compelling reasons to have those are they prevent equipment failures before they occur. PMs can be optimized based on historical data and performance, and preventive maintenance is often more cost effective than just corrective maintenance or run to failure. Next question, you need to keep track of the corrective maintenance and the PMs for your assets. Categorizing work orders by work type helps identify the type of work done to assets after the work has been done. So you might say a con is tracking every maintenance activity can be seen as an administrative overload, and well, there's a time sink to it. But some compelling reasons are tracking allows for trend analysis and predictive maintenance scheduling. It helps identify recurring issues that may indicate a need for asset replacement. It ensures regulatory compliance and adherence to maintenance protocols. And the question would be, do you know the uptime of your assets? If you're recording downtime, then you know your uptime. And if you don't record either, then you're just guessing. Constant monitoring of uptime can be a resource intensive, but that's something their EAM or CMMS systems can do for you. It's not something you have to get out a pencil and paper and calculate. And you might as well have the system do it because high uptime indicates reliable asset performance and operating efficiency. Monitoring uptime helps identify problematic assets. And uptime data can be used to justify investment in equipment or upgrades. Do you know the maintenance spend per assets? Well, if you don't know, then you need an EAM or CMMS system to help capture that data. And you might say detailed financial tracking per asset can be complex. Well, it could be if you're doing it with pen and paper or Excel, but if you have a maintenance management system, that's likely doing it for you. Compelling reasons are understanding costs helps in making informed decisions about asset lifecycle costs. It identifies opportunity for cost savings through improved maintenance practices. And cost data can support budget requests and financial planning. We can also prove the case that, hey, we're spending way too much money on this asset. In fact, we're spending more money a year on this asset working on it than we would if we just replaced it with a new one. So just something to keep in mind. Do you have an asset management maturity model? That's kind of where have you been, where are you now? That'd be like, well, in the past, we didn't really do preventive maintenance and we used to spend a lot of money and a lot of time repairing an asset. Well, we figured out we didn't need to do all that time and buy all those parts and work on the asset. We found if we just leave it alone and let it run, it doesn't have any problems. So it's kind of where have you been, where are you now? Maturity models can oversimplify complex asset management scenarios. That's a con, but compelling reasons are it provides a roadmap for continuous improvement in asset management. It helps in benchmarking against industry standards and best practices, and it aids in strategic planning and setting actionable goals. So we've asked all the questions and given the pointers and cons, and you might say, well, so what? What's in it for me? Well, maximizing asset ROI. So knowing your assets state ensures you're not wasting resources, people's time, the company's money. What's in it for you? Optimizing investments in assets for maximum return, reducing unnecessary expenditure on premature replacements, and enhance financial performance and justification for asset-related decisions. What about increased operational efficiency? So asset awareness translates to leaner operations. So what's in it for you? Streamlined operations leads to reduced downtime and higher output. More efficient use of resources means cost savings and competitiveness in the market through reliable service delivery. Enhancing asset lifespan. So a proactive approach to asset management significantly extends asset life. What's in it for you? Long-term cost savings due to extended asset life cycles, reduced frequency of capital expenditures for new assets, and sustained production capacity over time. Improving safety and compliance. So compliance isn't just regulatory, it's a commitment to safety. What's in it for you? Safer workplace and reduced risk of accidents, avoidance of costly fines and legal issues, and reputation as a responsible and reliable operator. Now, about preventive maintenance implementation. So transitioning from reactive to predictive maintenance avoids emergencies. What's in it for you? Cost savings from avoiding unscheduled downtimes, increase in asset availability and reliability, and data-driven maintenance schedules and resource allocation versus emotional wants and needs. Strategic decision making. So knowledge empowers you to make informed strategic decisions. What's in it for you? An ability to prioritize resources to critical areas for improvement, enhance planning for future capital investments, and a strong foundation for continuous improvement initiatives. Sustainable asset management. So sustainability is key for long-term operational viability. What's in it for you? Contribute to conservation efforts and corporate responsibility. Realize energy and resource savings. Align with global trends and consumer expectations towards sustainability. How about consumer satisfaction and trust? So asset reliability ensures consistent quality and service. What's in it for you? High customer retention through reliable service delivery, enhanced brand reputation and customer trust, and opportunities for business growth and customer base expansion. There's resilience against disruption. So a robust asset management system creates a buffer against uncertainties. What's in it for you? Maintain service continually in the face of unseen events. Enhance capacity for quick recovery from disruptions. Build confidence among stakeholders and organizations' resilience. And there's driving innovation and technological adoption. So staying current with asset conditions prompts innovation. What's in it for you? A position as an industry leader through adoption of cutting-edge solutions. Leverage technological advances for competitive advantage and foster a culture of innovation within the organization. In conclusion, what's next? The final takeaway, commitment to excellence in asset management. The ultimate gain by understanding and managing the state of your assets, you position your plant operations at the forefront of reliability, efficiency, and innovation. The takeaway message for your operations is to achieve unrivaled operational excellence and dependability. For your finance team, realize significant cost savings and value from your assets. For your operations team, foster a culture of knowledge, safety, and proactive maintenance. For your customers, ensure consistent high-quality products and services. And for your future, lay the foundation of sustainability, growth, and resilience. And lastly, a call to action. Assess the current state of your assets today to pave the way for a more reliable and prosperous tomorrow. Embrace the strategies and technologies that will elevate your asset management to a new standard. And join us in leading the industry with asset intelligence that safeguards resources and secures a sustainable future. If you've stuck around, I want to say thank you. You can send me a question at paul.crocker@reliabilityx.com, or you can ask a general question at reliabilityx.com. You can visit our website, reliabilityx.com. You can look at ISO 55000, and there's also a ISO TC251 committee page for ISO 55000. And stick around for the next slide. We've got a QR code and a code to submit a quick survey that lets us know how I did on this presentation and helps us better produce content that helps you in your day-to-day work. All right, now for the survey. You can take out your cell phone and point it at the QR code on the screen. In a moment, it should pop up with a little URL. You can press the URL, and it'll take you to a web page where it allows you to put in that webinar code, 2024_13. And just take a minute to fill that out. It lets us know how I did, how we're doing as a company, maybe other topics that you'd be interested in. And we do appreciate the feedback. And again, thank you for your time today. And we'll have another webinar at the same time next week. Thank you and have a great day.